I'm so glad we could finally meet up. It feels like ages since we've had a proper chat. How are you managing with little Sophie and your design work?
I've missed you too. Honestly, it's been quite the juggling act lately. Sophie just started preschool last month, which has been both a blessing and a challenge. How about you? Are you still working those crazy night shifts?
Yes, I'm still doing nights, though I'm thinking about requesting a switch to day shifts soon. My sleep schedule is all over the place and is starting to affect my social life. I feel like I'm living in a completely different time zone from everyone else.
I can't even imagine how difficult that must be. What time do you usually go to work?
My shift starts at 7 p.m. and ends at 7 a.m., so I typically leave my apartment around 6:30 p.m. It means I'm getting ready for work when most people are winding down from their day.
That's such a unique schedule. Do you sleep during the day then?
I try to, but it's not always easy. Ideally, I come home around 8 a.m., have a light breakfast, and then sleep from about 10 a.m. until 4 or 5 p.m. But sometimes the neighbors are mowing their lawns or there's construction noise, and it's impossible to get quality sleep.
That sounds really challenging. I complain when Sophie wakes me up at 6:30 a.m., but at least I'm sleeping at normal hours. What's your morning routine like after a night shift?
It's more like an afternoon routine, really. When I wake up around 4 p.m., I feel so disoriented sometimes. I'll have what I call breakfast, even though it's late afternoon, and then I try to get some sunlight to help reset my internal clock.
That's smart about the sunlight. I read somewhere that natural light helps regulate your circadian rhythm. What do you usually eat for your afternoon breakfast?
Usually something light but protein rich. Maybe scrambled eggs with toast or Greek yogurt with berries and granola. I've learned that heavy meals make me feel sluggish before work, and I need to be alert all night long.
That makes perfect sense. My mornings are the complete opposite. Total chaos. Sophie is like a little tornado from the moment she wakes up. Do you ask what time she usually gets up? Well, it varies, but typically around 6:30 a.m., and she's immediately full of energy.
Tell me about your morning routine with Sophie. I bet it's quite an adventure.
Adventure is definitely the right word. She bounds into my room at 6:30 a.m., usually asking for breakfast before I'm even fully awake. The first thing I do is get her settled with a small snack, usually a banana or some crackers, just to buy myself a few minutes to wake up properly.
That's clever. Do you have coffee right away?
Oh yes, coffee is absolutely essential. I have one of those programmable coffee makers, so it starts brewing automatically at 6:15 a.m. By the time Sophie wakes me up, there's fresh coffee waiting. I honestly don't know how I survived before I bought that machine.
I love those, though my relationship with coffee is complicated because of my schedule. I have to be careful not to drink too much caffeine late in my day, or I can't sleep when I get home.
That must require so much planning. What do you do to prepare for your night shifts?
Well, after my afternoon breakfast, I usually spend about an hour doing light activities, maybe some stretching, reading, or catching up on personal emails. Then around 5 p.m., I start getting ready for work. I shower, do my hair and makeup, and pack my meals for the night.
You pack meals for the entire night?
Absolutely. The hospital cafeteria has limited options overnight, and they're usually not very healthy. I pack dinner, a couple of snacks, and sometimes even a light breakfast for the end of my shift. Meal prep has become crucial for maintaining my energy levels.
I should be better about meal prep too. Most mornings I'm scrambling to make Sophie's lunch for preschool while also trying to get her dressed and fed. Do you prepare your work meals the day before?
Sometimes I do batch cooking on my days off. I'll make big portions of things like quinoa salad, roasted vegetables, or soup that I can portion out for several shifts. But other times I prepare everything fresh each afternoon.
That's so organized. My meal planning is pretty haphazard. What does Sophie like for breakfast? Well, she's going through a phase where she only wants pancakes or waffles, which is not sustainable for busy mornings.
Kids go through such specific phases, don't they? What do you do when you don't have time for pancakes?
I've started making big batches of mini muffins on Sunday evenings. I can grab a couple from the freezer, pop them in the microwave for 20 seconds, and she thinks she's getting a special treat. They're actually pretty healthy. I put oats, bananas, and even some spinach in them, though I don't tell her about the spinach part.
You sneak vegetables into her muffins? That's brilliant. I might have to remember that trick for the future.
What's your getting ready routine like before work? Do you have a specific skincare routine or anything like that?
I've had to adapt my skincare routine to my unusual schedule. I do a full routine twice. Once when I wake up in the afternoon, and a simplified version when I get home in the morning. Working nights can be really harsh on your skin because of the artificial lighting and stress.
I never thought about how night shifts would affect your skin. What products do you use?
I use a gentle cleanser, a vitamin C serum in the afternoon, and always moisturizer with SPF, even though I'm not going out in direct sunlight. At night before work, I use a more intense moisturizer because the hospital air is so dry.
SPF in the afternoon is smart. I'm terrible about remembering sunscreen. My morning skincare routine is pretty minimal. Cleanser, moisturizer, and whatever makeup I can apply while Sophie is eating breakfast.
Since I work from home most days, I often skip makeup entirely unless I have client video calls scheduled. But I always feel more put together and professional when I take the time to do at least some basic makeup. What about you? Do you wear makeup for night shifts?
I do wear some makeup, but it has to be pretty minimal and long-lasting. I use a tinted moisturizer, waterproof mascara, and a lip balm with just a hint of color. Anything more elaborate just doesn't survive a 12-hour shift in a hospital.
Waterproof mascara is essential for long days. How long does it take you to get ready for work?
About an hour total. 30 minutes for showering and skincare, and another 30 minutes for getting dressed, doing my hair, and packing my bag. I try to lay out my scrubs the night before so I'm not making decisions when I'm still waking up.
Laying clothes out in advance is such a time saver. I do that for Sophie, but I should start doing it for myself too. My getting ready process is constantly interrupted by Sophie needing help with something.
How do you manage to get yourself ready while taking care of her?
It's definitely a challenge. I've learned to do things in stages. I'll start my coffee, help Sophie get dressed, brush my teeth while she's eating breakfast, then do my hair while she's playing independently. Multitasking has become an art form.
That sounds exhausting but impressive. Do you have any tricks for making mornings smoother?
I've started preparing everything the night before. Sophie's clothes, her lunch, my work bag, even setting out the breakfast dishes. It probably saves me 15 to 20 minutes each morning, which makes a huge difference when you're running on limited sleep.
Since you work from home, how do you structure your workday around Sophie's schedule?
It's taken me almost 2 years to figure out a system that works. Now that Sophie's in preschool from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., those are my prime working hours. I drop her off, come straight home, and dive into my most challenging projects when my brain is freshest.
That's a pretty decent chunk of uninterrupted time. Do you take a lunch break or do you work straight through?
I try to work straight through because I know my time is limited. I'll eat lunch while I work, which probably isn't the healthiest habit, but it allows me to maximize my productivity. What about you? Do you get proper meal breaks during your shifts?
We're supposed to get a 30-minute lunch break and two 15-minute breaks during a 12-hour shift. But in reality, it depends on how busy the hospital is. Some nights, I barely have time to grab a granola bar, and other nights, I can actually sit down and eat properly.
That unpredictability must make it hard to maintain consistent eating habits. How do you keep your energy up during those long nights?
I've learned to eat small amounts frequently rather than waiting for official break times. I keep nuts, fruit, and protein bars in my pockets so I can grab a quick bite between patients. Staying hydrated is even more important. I go through at least 3 water bottles during each shift.
3 water bottles. That's impressive. I'm terrible about drinking enough water, especially when I'm focused on work. Do you ever feel lonely working nights?
Sometimes I do, especially during the quieter hours around 3 or 4 a.m. Most of the world is asleep, and even though I'm surrounded by colleagues, there's something isolating about being awake when everyone else is dreaming.
I can imagine that feeling. Working from home can be isolating too, but in a different way. Some days, Sophie and the preschool teacher are the only people I talk to face to face.
Do you miss having coworkers around?
I do miss the casual conversations and collaborative energy of an office environment, but I love the flexibility of working from home, especially as a mom. If Sophie gets sick, I can take care of her without having to take a whole day off work.
That flexibility must be so valuable. What happens when she gets home from preschool? Can you still work?
That's when my productivity drops significantly. From 2:30 p.m. until bedtime, I'm in full mom mode. I'll answer a few emails or do some administrative tasks while she's having quiet time, but any serious design work has to happen either during school hours or after she goes to bed.
What's your evening routine like with Sophie?
Evenings are actually my favorite part of the day. When I pick her up from preschool, she's always bursting with stories about her day. We usually come home and have a snack together while she tells me about everything that happened.
That sounds so sweet. What time do you usually have dinner?
We eat around 5:30 p.m. I try to keep dinner simple on weekdays, things like pasta with vegetables, grilled chicken with rice, or soup with bread. She's more likely to eat foods she's familiar with, so I save the experimental cooking for weekends.
Do you cook every night?
Most nights, yes, though I do have some backup options for particularly busy days. I keep frozen meals that are relatively healthy, and there's a pizza place that delivers quickly when I'm really overwhelmed with work deadlines.
That's smart to have backup plans. Since your schedule is so different, I often eat my main meal around 2 a.m. during my shift break. It feels strange eating dinner in the middle of the night.
I can't imagine eating a full meal at 2 a.m. What happens after Sophie's dinner?
Well, I'm usually at work during her evening routine, but tell me what it's like.
After dinner, we have about an hour of free playtime. Sometimes we'll go to the playground if the weather's nice, or we might do puzzles, coloring, or read books at home. It's important to me that she has unstructured time to just be creative.
That sounds like quality time together. What time does she go to bed?
Her bedtime routine starts at 7 p.m. We do bath time, brush teeth, read 2 stories, and she's usually asleep by 8 p.m. The routine is pretty consistent because kids thrive on predictability.
2 stories. Does she get to choose them?
Yes, she picks them out, though we have an agreement that they can't be longer than 10 pages each. Some nights she tries to negotiate for more stories, but I've learned to be firm about bedtime boundaries.
Good for you for sticking to the routine. What do you do after she's asleep?
That's when I have my adult time. I might do some additional work if I have deadlines, but ideally, I use that time for myself. I'll take a hot bath, watch a show, read, or sometimes just enjoy the silence.
The silence must be precious after a busy day with a 4-year-old.
Absolutely. I love Sophie dearly, but by 8 p.m., I'm ready for some peace and quiet. What about you? When do you get your downtime?
My downtime is definitely unconventional. When I get home from work at 8 a.m., I'm usually pretty wired from the night shift, so I'll spend about an hour decompressing before I try to sleep.
How do you decompress after such an intense work environment?
I have a whole ritual. First, I change out of my scrubs immediately. It's like shedding the workday. Then I might take a warm shower, make some chamomile tea, and do some gentle stretching or meditation. I need to signal to my body that it's time to wind down.
That sounds very intentional and calming. Do you have blackout curtains for sleeping during the day?
Yes, blackout curtains were one of the best investments I made when I started night shifts. I also use a white noise machine to block out daytime sounds like traffic and lawnmowers, and I wear an eye mask for extra darkness.
You've really created a proper sleep environment. I'm impressed by how much thought you've put into adapting to your schedule. How many hours do you usually sleep?
I aim for 7 to 8 hours, just like people who sleep at night. So if I fall asleep at 10 a.m., I'll sleep until 5 or 6 p.m. The tricky part is that if I sleep too late, I don't have enough time to properly prepare for work.
That makes sense. My sleep schedule is pretty conventional, but I don't get nearly enough sleep. I usually go to bed around 10 p.m., but I often stay up reading or watching TV until 11 or even midnight.
How many hours of sleep do you typically get?
Probably 6 to 7 hours on average. Sophie is usually up by 6:30 a.m. regardless of when I went to bed, so I pay for those late nights the next day. I keep telling myself I'll start going to bed earlier, but it's hard to give up that quiet evening time.
I totally understand that. Those few hours in the evening are probably your only real personal time during the day.
Exactly. It's my time to be Lily, not just Sophie's mom or a graphic designer. But I know I'd feel better if I got more sleep. Do you ever feel sleep deprived?
Sometimes, especially if my sleep gets interrupted during the day. If there's loud construction or an emergency that requires me to wake up early, it can throw off my whole cycle.
How do you handle it when your sleep gets disrupted?
I try to take a short nap before work if possible, even just 20-30 minutes, and I'm extra careful about caffeine. I might have an extra cup of coffee, but I don't overdo it because it can make the next day's sleep even more difficult.
Do you manage to fit exercise into your unusual schedule?
It's definitely challenging. I can't go to regular fitness classes because they're all scheduled for normal daytime or evening hours. I've had to get creative with home workouts and finding activities that work with my schedule.
What kind of exercise do you do?
I have some workout videos that I can do at home, and I go for walks in my neighborhood when the weather's nice. There's something peaceful about walking around the suburbs at 5 p.m. when most people are inside having dinner.
That does sound peaceful. I struggle to find time for exercise too, but for different reasons. It's hard to leave the house for a workout when you have a 4-year-old.
Have you found any solutions that work for you?
I've started doing YouTube workout videos during Sophie's quiet time in the afternoon. She'll watch a movie or play independently for 30 to 45 minutes, and I can get in a quick workout in the living room.
That's perfect. What kind of workouts do you do?
Mostly strength training and yoga. I like workouts that don't require a lot of equipment since I don't have space for a home gym. Sometimes Sophie tries to copy my yoga poses, which is adorable, but not exactly conducive to a serious workout.
That sounds cute, though. Do you exercise every day?
I am for 3 to 4 times per week, but realistically, it's more like 2 to 3 times. Some weeks are just too hectic with work deadlines and mom duties. What about you?
I try to do something active most days, even if it's just a 20-minute walk. Working 12-hour shifts where I'm on my feet all night is physically demanding, but it's a different kind of movement than intentional exercise.
That's true. You're probably getting more steps than most people. Do you have any other health routines or habits?
I take vitamins, especially vitamin D, since I don't get much natural sunlight. And I try to eat regular meals despite my weird schedule. It's easy to just grab junk food during busy shifts, but I feel so much better when I eat real food.
Vitamin D is smart for someone who works nights. I should probably take that too. I'm not great about taking vitamins consistently.
It's hard to remember. I keep them next to my coffee maker so I see them every day when I'm making my afternoon morning coffee.
How has working night shifts affected your social life?
It's been one of the biggest challenges, honestly. Most of my friends have normal schedules, so when they want to go out for dinner or drinks on Friday night, I'm getting ready for work. And on my nights off, I'm often too tired to stay up late socializing.
That must feel isolating sometimes. Have you found ways to maintain friendships?
I've had to be more intentional about planning social activities during times that work for my schedule. Weekend mornings and afternoons are usually good for me, so I'll suggest brunch dates or afternoon activities instead of evening plans.
Brunch dates sound lovely. What about dating? Is that difficult with your schedule?
Dating has been complicated. It's hard to explain to someone new why you can't go out on Friday nights or why you need to sleep during the day on Saturday. Some people just don't understand the reality of shift work.
That sounds really challenging. I imagine it filters out people who aren't very understanding or flexible.
In a way, that's actually been helpful. The people who are worth dating are the ones who make an effort to understand my schedule and work around it. What about you? How do you balance dating as a single mom?
It's tricky too, but for different reasons. Any dating has to happen either during Sophie's preschool hours or after her bedtime, which limits the options significantly. And I'm always hesitant to introduce someone new into Sophie's life until I'm sure it's serious.
That makes total sense. You have to protect both yourself and Sophie. Do you get much time for adult friendships?
Not as much as I'd like. Most of my friends don't have kids yet, so our lifestyles are pretty different now. They can be spontaneous about plans while I need advance notice to arrange childcare.
Have you met other moms through Sophie's activities?
A few. There are some really nice parents at her preschool, and we've started doing playdates on weekends. It's been good for both Sophie and me to have those connections.
That sounds perfect. Socializing for both of you at the same time. Do you ever feel like you've lost your sense of identity outside of being a mom?
Sometimes I do. Before Sophie, I could make impulsive decisions, travel, stay out late. Now everything revolves around her schedule and her needs. Don't get me wrong, I love being her mom, but sometimes I miss the freedom of my old life.
That's completely understandable. Major life changes always involve some grief for the way things used to be, even when the changes are positive overall. Speaking of life changes, are you planning to stick with freelance graphic design long-term, or do you have other career goals?
I love the flexibility of freelancing, especially as a single mom, but I sometimes worry about the financial instability. I've been thinking about looking for a part-time position with a company that might offer benefits while still maintaining some freelance clients.
Benefits would be huge, especially health insurance. What kind of companies are you considering?
Maybe a marketing agency or a nonprofit that needs design work but doesn't require full-time hours. Ideally, somewhere that would let me work remotely a few days per week so I can still be available for Sophie.
That sounds like a good compromise. What about you? Are you planning to switch to day shifts eventually?
Actually, I meant to ask you that. Are you planning to switch to day shifts?
I've been going back and forth about it. Night shifts pay a differential, so I make more money, but the social isolation and sleep challenges are getting harder to manage. I'm thinking about requesting a switch after I've been at the hospital for 2 years.
When would that be?
In about 6 months. The day shift positions are more competitive, so I want to make sure I have enough experience and a good reputation before I apply for a transfer. That makes sense.
Do you think you'll miss anything about working nights?
I'll definitely miss the smaller team dynamics and the slightly more relaxed pace during quiet hours. Night shift has a different energy. We really look out for each other because there are fewer people around.
That camaraderie sounds special. What are you most looking forward to about day shifts?
Having a normal social life again, being able to go out with friends on weekends, dating without having to explain my weird schedule, and just feeling more connected to the regular world.
Those are all really good reasons. Do you have any other long-term career goals in nursing?
I'm interested in eventually specializing in pediatric nursing. I love working with kids and families, and I think it would be really rewarding. But I'd need to get some additional training and certifications.
Pediatric nursing sounds perfect for someone with your caring personality. Is that something you could pursue while still working?
Some programs offer evening or weekend classes specifically for working nurses. It would be challenging, but I think it would be worth it in the long run.
Speaking of long-term planning, how do you manage your finances with shift work? Does the irregular schedule make budgeting difficult?
It's actually not too bad because I work the same number of hours each week, just at different times. I get paid every 2 weeks, which is pretty consistent. The night shift differential definitely helps with my budget.
That's good. Freelancing makes budgeting much more challenging because my income varies so much from month to month. Some months I have several big projects and other months are really slow. How do you handle those income fluctuations? I try to save as much as possible during the busy months to cover expenses during slower periods. I also keep a separate emergency fund specifically for lean times. It's not always easy, but it's necessary for freelance work.
That's really smart planning. Do you set aside money for taxes too?
Yes, that was a hard lesson I learned in my first year of freelancing. Now I automatically transfer 25% of each payment into a separate tax account, so I'm not scrambling come April.
Good for you.
Do you have any retirement savings?
I have a small IRA that I contribute to when I can, but honestly, retirement planning is one area where I feel behind. The hospital probably has better benefits than freelancing, right?
Yes, we have a 401k with employer matching, plus health insurance, paid time off, and other benefits. It's one of the reasons I'm hesitant to ever leave hospital work, even though the hours can be challenging.
Those benefits are so valuable, especially with a child. Health insurance alone would save me hundreds of dollars each month.
Have you looked into health insurance through the marketplace?
I have a plan through the marketplace, but it's pretty expensive with a high deductible. Sophie and I are healthy, thankfully, but I worry about what would happen if one of us had a serious medical issue.
That's always a concern with freelancing. Do you budget for anything else specific to being a single mom?
Childcare is definitely my biggest expense after housing. Even though Sophie is only in preschool part-time, it's still a significant portion of my monthly budget. And I have to factor in occasional babysitting costs if I want to go out or attend work events.
What kind of technology do you use to stay organized with your freelance work?
I rely pretty heavily on project management apps to keep track of different clients and deadlines. I use a combination of Google Calendar, Trello for project organization, and QuickBooks for invoicing and expense tracking.
That sounds like a good system. Do you use any specific design software?
Adobe Creative Suite is essential, mainly Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign. I also use Figma for web design projects and Canva for quick social media graphics. The subscription costs add up, but they're necessary business expenses.
Those monthly software costs must be significant. What about communication with clients?
Email mostly, but I also use Slack with a few of my regular clients. Video calls through Zoom or Google Meet for project kickoffs and presentations. I've had to get comfortable being on camera from my home office.
I bet that was an adjustment. What about you personally? Do you use any apps for health or productivity?
I use a meditation app that I try to use when Sophie's having quiet time, and I use a habit tracking app to help me stay consistent with things like exercise and taking vitamins. What about you?
I use a sleep tracking app to monitor my sleep quality, which is especially important with my unusual schedule. And I have a water reminder app because it's easy to forget to stay hydrated during busy shifts.
A water reminder app is brilliant. I definitely don't drink enough water. Do you use any apps for meal planning or grocery shopping?
I use a grocery list app that syncs with my partner's phone. Oh, wait, I don't have a partner right now, but when I was dating someone, that was really helpful. I also use a recipe app to find meals that I can easily pack for work.
Meal planning apps probably would help me too. I tend to buy the same groceries every week without much planning, which gets boring and isn't very efficient.
Have you tried any of those meal kit delivery services?
I tried one for a few months, but it was pretty expensive and generated a lot of packaging waste. Plus, Sophie's picky about food, so half the meals went uneaten. I prefer shopping for ingredients myself and keeping meals simple.
That makes sense with a preschooler. Simple meals are probably more practical anyway.
This conversation has made me think about how much our daily routines shape our overall quality of life. Do you feel like your current routine supports your well-being?
That's such a thoughtful question. In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. The night shift routine has taught me to be very intentional about self-care and planning, which I think will serve me well even when I switch to days.
What aspects of your routine do you think are working well?
I've gotten really good at meal planning and preparation, which helps me eat healthier even with an unconventional schedule. And I've learned to create clear boundaries between work time and personal time, even when those times are different from most people's.
Those are valuable skills. What would you like to change?
I love to have more spontaneous social interactions. Right now, everything has to be planned in advance because of my sleep schedule. I miss being able to say yes to last-minute invitations.
I understand that feeling from a different perspective. As a single mom, I can't be spontaneous either because everything has to be arranged around Sophie's needs. What about you? Do you feel like your routine supports your well-being?
I meant to ask you that question. Do you feel like your routine supports your well-being?
It's mixed.
I love the flexibility of working from home and being present for Sophie's childhood, but I sometimes feel like I'm not taking care of myself as well as I should be. I put Sophie's needs first, then work demands, and my own needs often come last.
That's such a common struggle for mothers. What would you like to change?
I'd like to exercise more consistently, sleep better, and make more time for adult friendships. I also want to be more intentional about pursuing my own interests outside of work and parenting.
Those all sound like reasonable goals. Have you thought about specific steps to make those changes?
I think I need to start treating my own well-being as a non-negotiable priority, not something I'll get to if I have time. Maybe scheduling self-care activities like I would schedule client meetings.
I love that approach. What's one small change you could make starting this week?
Maybe committing to going to bed by 10 p.m. 3 nights this week and doing a 20-minute workout video twice this week. Small steps that don't feel overwhelming.
Those sound perfect. What about you? What's one change you want to make?
I think I'd like to try adding some structure to my days off. Maybe creating a loose routine even when I'm not working, so I feel more grounded and less like I'm just drifting through my free time.
That could really help with the transition to day shifts eventually, too. Having some practice with daytime routines.
Exactly. It's been so helpful talking through all of this with you. I feel like I have a clearer picture of what's working in my life and what I'd like to adjust.
Me too. It's amazing how much clarity you can gain just by articulating your routines out loud to someone else. We should do this more often.
Absolutely. Maybe we could check in with each other in a month and see how our new habits are going.
I'd love that. Having someone to be accountable to makes such a difference, and actually following through on goals.
Here's to building better routines and supporting each other as we figure out this whole adult life thing.
Cheers to that. Thanks for such an insightful conversation.